All right, guys, we're back again. A few technical issues. That's me. I'm not very tech savvy. So we're back. Ian had just quickly covered regarding kids' classes that he had done some trials and whatnot, walked into a few gyms, walked out of them, wasn't really for you, and that you probably got some hang ups about it, and then we lost you. So you want to carry on from there?
I just think if coaches are going to design a program, which is again one of the good reasons to be owner operated, it needs to be in line with your values as a coach and a parent. So definitely, uh, our program has been designed because I was like, well, if this is important way to teach my kids, then everybody else's kids are just as important as mine. So they all get the same treatment and the same values. So I think you want to attract other parents um, and caregivers that have the same values as you. So you want to be real clear in communicating those to the kids and real clear in communicating those to the parents as well. And then you want to design your kids programs off the back of that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so, if you had, given that you'd gone into a few gyms before and you probably had a few memories of that and having to walk out again because it wasn't super fun or interesting and didn't really appeal to you, which is not uncommon. Heaps of people do that. What's your advice to parents looking for a good spot for their kids to train?
Well, I mean, I didn't know it at the time, but I was looking at something with some form of realness and like live action play, like a sport. You, so if I'd walked into a Thai boxing gym or a judo or jiu-jitsu gym and been put on the mat and been allowed to play at 13, 14 years old, I think at the time, I probably would have really liked it and came back. So again, some people are out there telling people, "Oh, definitely don't let people play the first the first class," but like that's what I was looking for,
Yeah.
you know.
So when you say
So
play, you mean like sparring, sort of getting amongst it a little bit with obviously parameters.
yeah, some kind of live action play. I
Hmm.
mean now, like in jiu-jitsu, we know that like using hold training is a good way to like solidify a lesson and make it seem real and it's fun and it's a game that relates to martial arts, not just playing dodgeball all the time. As much as kids love playing dodgeball, so that's a safe way of doing it. If it's a boxing or an MMA class for kids, maybe their first day they can just do some jab sparring or lead hand sparring or leg kick sparring, something like that. That's kind of like semi-real, but you're monitoring to make sure the kids don't get too out of control, and you're coaching them through it to help solidify the skills in the class. Like that's
Yeah.
what I was looking for, and I think a lot of people are looking for that, and I think it's definitely you want to get people as quickly as possible, adults or kids, to understand um, the real science behind learning skills and that gameplay based learning.
So with
The added
a
bonus of that is it's fun, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you're talking about 13, 14 years old. So say we're talking about, I don't know, like my gym, they start at 4. I think you got like little tiny kids starting up there at 2 or 3 or something like that. Don't you?
Yeah, we have some baby jiu-jitsu, so they play games like wrestling over balls.
Yeah.
They sometimes play some sumo, trying to push each other out of a circle. So we do have some rough housing esque games for the 3 to 5s. They also get to knee ride the coaches and jump on their backs and fun things like that as well. Definitely a little bit less discipline in those classes, but getting them used to the gym environment and listening to coaches and instructions is important. I don't think there's any rush to get kids into baby programs. I mean, if you can convince your kid to get to the gym and train somewhere between 5 and 8, that'd be good. I think if you're starting after 10, um, it can be you're going to have a little bit less influence again. But in saying that, you got to ask yourself, what kind of parent are you? What kind of values you go up? Because not everyone's going to believe that self defense is a is a skill like brushing your teeth. For my kids, it was kind of a non-negotiable. I set up my life to pick them up from school, and they were going to train regardless because I knew how good it would be for them. And then they've always had the option to do sports, but on the off days that they don't have other sports, they do martial arts. And they both grew to love martial arts because I was always play fighting with them when they were kids. But you still got to be careful because there's some craziness. Like we all hear stories about the football dads, right?
Yep, all of us.
And your son plays football, correct?
He has engaged in some young, like Little Devils type training, but not actual football yet. But yeah,
Gets hectic on those sidelines. I remember watching Lily play netball and there was a woman next to me, and before the match, she'd had a cigarette on the side, and slurping a big Coke, yelling at the girls, and then turning to me and telling me, "Oh, so and so's having a terrible game," blah blah blah. And I was like, "Look, I'm just glad they're having fun," and I had to walk away from it because I couldn't believe this parent that looked like she'd been in the side of a gym for the last 5 years was carrying on like a pork chop. Let the kids have fun. And how are they going to learn manners and be coachable when you're sitting on the side of the mat being a negative Nancy, talking about other kids on the team? Oh my
I think probably I always, even when I'm talking to parents or kids in general and stuff like that with martial arts, I always take what you said to me ages ago. Our job as a martial arts coach is just to make sure that the kids like it when they turn 16, because then they get to make their own decisions and they get to see what the martial arts is all about, as they grow and evolve and become better and better at martial arts. But up until that point, I mean, ultimately, you need to make it fun. You need to make them enjoy it. And like I said, that's not necessarily normal games, but like any games really, but particularly if you can make them live martial arts based learning games, that's going to help advance the kids, but it's also going to make it fun as they, grow and evolve and age.
The kid trains with you from 5 to 15, regardless of how much you push them, they're going to be great.
Yeah.
But what you can do is have a kid's life. Don't worry about how great you can get them. Worry about if you can make them typical of being a good student, no matter what sport they're playing. So when they're older and they choose different things, you've helped them be coachable, attentive, respectful, manners, not to mention the lessons you learn on the martial arts about being kinder to people who are weaker than you, about being humble when you get beaten by people that are stronger than you. All these things that they're exposed to can make them sports stars in a bunch of different other sports. It can make them leaders in the community and all these things. All those things, in my eyes, are much, 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 much better than being an Australian level champion at 10 years old. What a ridiculous thing to be like obsessed about or proud about,
I love that. I think that's great. I mean, I think that there's far more to martial arts than learning martial arts, obviously, and that's why most parents do put their kids in it. You will always get the odd few here and there that are, the purpose is to be a 10-year-old champion and whatever, that's their prerogative. But as far as running a school goes, where you're trying to cater to building better people, I think that focusing on one or two kids is not the objective. Focusing on the majority, the group of kids, and building them into great adults, and giving them a skill set at the same time. I think that's definitely the key to being a kid's martial arts coach, is to build better humans.
I mean, it's great to have a 10-year-old that's great or an 11-year-old that's great, but you need to then teach that 10, 11-year-old to not just be great at competitions, but to be great on the mat and lift other people up. Because you and I both know that for long-term success, even if you're a great fighter in your gym, if you're not lifting up your training partners, if you're not respectful of your sparring partners and everybody that donates their body so you can be great, then you'll never reach the top level.
Yeah, I love
This
that.
kind of like utter selfishness. It's just like most of the really great champions. I mean, they're not utterly selfish. Yeah, they're hard to train with, at times, but they are generally often the most giving person in the room at the right times.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. I think that's enough on kids classes, but yeah, parents should definitely be putting their kids into martial arts for the right reasons. And a coach's objective is to build great humans whilst giving them a fantastic skill set.
Yeah,
Anyway,
vehicle for that martial arts. Like, I mean, it's fun. It's play fighting with your mates. It's a good reminder for all the athletes that you and I have out there too, whether they're a professional Thai boxer, professional boxer, that you're play fighting with your mates.
yeah,
You-
it
and
should
then
be fun.
this,
I enjoy it for that reason too.
this whole idea that you don't play boxing or you don't play Muay Thai, that's exactly what you're doing, because in the ring you have a referee and a judge, and they're going to look after you at the end of the day. Yep, there's some extreme results for losing or not, and there has to be a level of seriousness. But all the greats are going to tell you that, like, learning to have fun during the tough moments and being playful in the gym is a really, really useful skill and attitude to have about martial arts and fighting.
Attitude. I love it. That is definitely something that can make or break
For
a
your fight,
person as they grow.
what do you think is the best value or attitude that you see out of your better competitors?
Yeah, I think like the best attitude to have is that you're in it together. Like, and that's exactly what you're saying. So the best people in the gym are quite often the ones that help other people. And I feel like the flow and effect of that is not just this guy who's a great athlete is also has a great attitude and he's helping other people, but that forces the community to grow, forces the community to rise. And then not only do you have one extra good person, but the flow and effect of that is you have a great team. And I think a great team's far more important than a great individual. So, yeah, I definitely think the attitude towards their teammates is something that's super important and that should be drilled into them.
Yeah, your guys are definitely pretty fun to be around. I do enjoy that. I do enjoy a lighter backstage vibe. I don't think anybody's hit the level of Tyson Pedro and his crew of silliness when they're backstage.
Yeah.
It is quite a sight to witness.
You
But
can hear those guys coming down the hallway.
I do like the lighter mood backstage. I mean, the hard work and professionalism and the structure and the routine and the discipline, it's all been done already by the time you get there, So
Yeah, I agree. I agree totally. Anyway, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I thought I had 15 minutes spare, so we just we jump on and have a chat. And I think that more people deserve to hear your thoughts on training kids. I think it's phenomenal, and that's why you're still doing it. So
I've been trying to talk about it a little bit more lately, just because I really want to make sure that we have a better culture at jiu-jitsu comps, at boxing competitions, at Muay Thai competitions, understanding that, like, the actual science, when you go to all these talent scouts, and they don't want to hear it, but your kid could start at 15 years old, as long as they've played a mixture of other sports earlier and they have a good attitude, they can be a world champion when they start their sport at 15 years old. There is no correlation between having these little kids that look great on Instagram or YouTube and them becoming world champions. 14, 15 is early enough to start a sport. So what are you doing between 5 and 14 to give them the attitude and the skills to deal with that? So I think that's the message I'm really trying to get out there. So that way, maybe at competitions, all the coaches, all the parents can settle down a bit, realize that there's two kids on the mat battling it out, and at the end of the day, someone's got to win and someone's got to lose. So, let's show some respect for the losers by not carrying on too much, okay? And let's keep the winners nice and humble so they have a good attitude along their journey.
I love that. Thanks, mate. I really appreciate it. Thanks for sharing your little bit of wisdom and thought process. Attitude. That's the key. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, brother.